And welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. I have a loom knit hat. Took me 2.5 hours to make using Caron tea cakes, loom knitting. So this is single-stranded, one ball of Caron tea cakes. Purpose for me to do it was to do it during stitch night, but also I wanted something for the back of the car just in case I have an emergency when I'm on the road. So this is going in the back of my car. The knitting loom that you see is 9 inches in diameter, so from point to point, so needle to needle. It's also got 36 of these, and because these are so big that we need the chunky yarn to work with it, so you just cannot work with your Red Heart Super Saver and just do this. You need a chunky weight yarn, which makes sense for a Bernat blanket. So the other thing is that once you start feeding these things, it gets really inconvenient if you're using your fingers. So what we have here is just an empty pen that I banged out the interior, and as long as the pen can slide in between the teeth or the needles itself, you're going to have yourself a really quick project because you'll be spinning and it's like you're painting with yarn. So you'll be able to do this. Also, there's other kinds of projects that we have available that are using the exact same formulation for the brim and also for the body of the hat. So this is a good generic tutorial for that as well, because you will find other patterns out there that are the same thing, just using different yarn. And you can see that it gets quite addictive. And in this case, the yarn is not thick like Bernat blanket, so I just had to double strand it and just use 2 strands at the same time in order to create that, and created the brim just like you see. Is on a spare piece of paper, write the numbers 1 through 17 on a piece of paper. This is your brim. And then write the numbers 1 to 23. And as we cross them off, you're going to use this fancy dancy pen and you're just going to check it off that you did it. So there's 17 rows in the brim and 23 in the main body. Now the picker that is usually provided in the equipment is usually garbage. Honestly, I've had nothing but problems with those. And this here is a Cricut one that you'll find at the craft store, and it's a lot stronger. This thing is sharp as hell, so you don't want to stab yourself with it, but because it's thicker and my hand is shoe, I find it's a lot easier to use this tool, and it's also longer too. So you'll see this thing, I think it's called a weeder, but don't quote me on that. So how are we going to get the yarn through the pen? Well, we're just going to use a long needle. You can use a wire or anything that you would like to do, and you're just going to stick it through the empty pen. And you're just going to loop the yarn that is coming from the yarn ball through and just pull through, and therefore you have this already fed. So this will feed the yarn onto your loom knitting equipment. So let's begin, and we're going to create a slip knot first. I'm going to assume that you do not know how to do anything. So once this is on, then you can do your magic in applying the slip knot. And the slip knot is the first knot, so your whole project does not unravel itself. And so what I want you to do is just point your finger like this and take the yarn and wrap it around your finger twice, like this. Okay, so it's in the front of your hand. And you're just going to use your the rest of your fingers and hold this shut. Okay, one more time, so wrap twice. If you have another way of doing a slip knot and you prefer that, just go nuts and do it. Once that's done, you are going to put this one over top your finger, but not right over. So I call it leapfrog. So the frog jumps over the other frog and is here. And this frog right here is so excited that when it jumps over that frog, but accidentally jumps over top of your finger. And therefore you end up with the starting slip knot, which will hold everything together. So wrapping twice. Play the game of leapfrog, so up and over, and this frog is so excited it goes up and over but accidentally jumps off your finger. Now you're going to notice is that there's an anchor peg right here. We're going to ignore that. I don't ever use that, and I'm going to use the anchor peg that is before it, so right here. And I'm just going to put this on so that the knot goes into the center of your loom. Once it's on here, you're going to just tug on the yarn that is going towards the yarn ball, and it will tighten it back up to the knitting needle. So there's 36 knitting needles all the way around this thing. Don't over tighten it to the point where you're choking that. If you're choking it, you're going to break things, including your patience. This is much easier to do on top of your lap than it is a table. So you're going to take the yarn feeder, and it's currently on the inside of the loom. You'll go to the next peg, you'll come to the outside of the loom, wrap around, and then back to the center. And then you jump to the next one, wrap, and center. And because it's coming out of the yarn feeder as is, it's going on with the tension that is best for this yarn. So if you use your fingers to wrap this thing, you tend to over tighten. So you're essentially just painting the needles with the yarn feeder. It's called an E wrap because you're forming the letter E. And you're gonna wrap all the way around. Once you come to the last one, just rest. Just look at it and just use your fingertips and just kind of push halfway down if you were too high. So now we got to wrap again because we're just in the cast on process. So when we wrap again, we're going to start again, starting in the next needle up and just wrap around again. Now the key element is at the end of a wrapping session like this is your last one, because you can see this one already has two. You're going to use your finger and just like a scissors and just kind of hold it. And you're going to use the picker and you were going to pick the bottom one up over top of the top one. And you're just going to pull it up and over. Now, for myself, I find this is so much easier if you turn the loom over for the remaining of the round. So starting in the remaining of the round, so we were wrapping in this direction, so I'm going to loom knit in the same direction. So we simply just take over the bottom and we use our hands and just kind of pick it off and go forward towards you and get the loose end to come into the interior. So you just scoop and pull. Now when you double strand or triple strand your yarns with loom knitting, this is a lot more stiffer, so you'll find this is easier on your hands as well. So you're going to just knit. So this is just called knitting, and you're going to knit yourself all the way around. Okay, and now you're done. So now you're going to go onto your check sheet, and you're going to check off that you did round number 1. So in the check sheet, you did round number 1, done. So now you're going to move on to round number 2, all the way through 17. And we'll do a quick demonstration just to make sure you understand it. And let's begin that. So to start a new round right where you are, you see that you're coming out of this peg here. You're just going to start E-wrapping the pegs, going the same direction always. Okay, and you just wrap all the way around. Okay, so I can tell that this one already has 2 on it. So that's my last one right here. I'm going to pick it off. So because it's the first one, I pick up and over. That, and then I turn the whole loom upside down, and then I start picking the bottom and pulling it up and over. Okay, so you're gonna knit this around. This will be round number 2. I'll see you at the end of the round. So I've knit all the way around for round number 2, done, check it off, and then you just pick your loom back up and then you restart again. So just look at which one was the last one because this is coming out, and just start E-wrapping again. So what I want you to do is that I want you to knit up until round number 17. We're currently just finished number 2, and so you'll get those done, and then I'll be back in just a few seconds from now, and I'll show you how to form the brim, which is actually kind of really fun. My 17 rounds are complete. If you're ever unsure, if you pull it like this, you can see almost like a spider web, and each one of these is considered a round. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll be able to count that all the way back to the very beginning. We're now time to form the ring or the brim. So what I want you to do is that this is where we stopped, and we're going to pull, and so we can follow the line straight on up. Even if you're off by 1, it doesn't really matter so much. Now, there's only going to be 1 strand at the end. If it's a double-stranded project, then there will be 2 strands that are working together. So if it's double-stranded, these still will group together like this. You're going to take the last one and insert it. So you got to make sure that this is already on the outside of the ring. So don't allow this to be there. So just come on this side, because normally when you start in the next one and you come. So just come here on the outside and just put the last loop on. Once you get the last loop, the rest of them are pretty easy. You just got to follow it around. So that loose end that you had, just tuck it and it will fold inside of the brim itself, and just pull it, and you see there's the next one. So if you want to use your yarn feeder, you can do that. Not the yarn feeder, the picker, and you can just pull it on, and you can just pull the very last one all the way around and put it on. Okay, so you've got to make sure it's the right sequence. So every peg will have a loop because it's matching the same number of the beginning that you did. So I'm coming all the way around, and everything is now in position. So now you have to use your fingers and just push down so both of them loops are closest to the very bottom of the pegs. So just move your hands around. Okay, and we're going to begin, and we need to secure this brim. So to secure this brim, you were going to start, and so we had it on the outside of here, so bring it back to the interior of the loom and just E-wrap again around. So now you have a total of 3 sets of loops. So if it's double-stranded, you would have whatever that is. So you'd have 2, 4, 6, so you'd have 6 strands. So we want to secure that last one, but it's too much to just pull both of them over top. So just pull the next one that's down up over the top, and then just reach down and pull the next one. So you are going to push the 2 over top of each other. So you'll turn it over if you want to do it my way. And so you will take the next one here up and over, and then take the next one up and over. And you're going to do that all the way around. If you try to grab both at the same time, I find it's a little stiff. If not, it can get almost impossible. So just work your way and just loom knit around. Now your brim is permanently into this hat. So if you look at the back side here, you'll see it coming out. So this one has a little bit of white right at the tinges. And so now the next 23 rounds are going to just be straight E-wrap and knit, and that will take you to the very top of the hat. So just do that. So for the next 23 rounds. So on your piece of paper, do and check off 1 through 23 as you're going, and then I'll see you back here in a few moments to show you how to finish this hat off. My 23 rounds are now complete. So now what I'm going to do is take this off the loom. So make sure that this strand is long enough so that you're able to pull all the stitches off. If it goes too short, then you'll have a problem. So don't be cheap. And you will still have enough, even if you give yourself a little bit extra, you'll still have enough because you'll have enough to do another blanket and then another hat. But you can do another hat starting right where you are, and the sequence will appear slightly different because this is starting at a slightly different spot as well. So then you can get 2 different look hats with the same color sequence. So you're going to pull the feeder off. So that's done. And we're going to grab a tapestry needle, and we need to use that in order to get the loops off. So in knitting, each loop is a live stitch. Unlike crochet where we create a knot and finish it, in knitting, each one of these is live. So if something goes wrong, you know how we create those magic words when that happens. So we're going to put this onto a tapestry needle, and we're going to use that needle to pull off the stitches. So right where you're sitting, you want to come into, this is the one it's coming out of. So just like you would start E-wrapping the next one. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to use the needle, and I'm going to come up underneath like this, and I'm going to pull it off with that needle, and I'm going to pull the yarn through. So I'm just going to pull the yarn enough so it's like tight, it's not sloppy. Okay, just like that, and then just leave it go. Let the yarn stay towards the inside so it doesn't get tangled within the pegs, because that's not fun. So coming up underneath, pull up the next one. Okay, and pull through. And all you're just gonna do is start collecting these around. So don't pull on that tight until we get this off completely. If you are running out of yarn strand that you may have done it too short, you can just pull on it a little bit just to get yourself some extra slack, just in case you need it. And finally, the last one. So now everything is off. We can get rid of the loom and save it for another project later. And all you're just going to do now is take the strand, and right where it's coming out, just use your hands and just kind of help stabilize it and just pull. And it will pull the entire top, all the loops together. Now, the best way to do this is that right where this is coming out, go completely the opposite over the hole, and then back around to where it's coming out of. So it forms a circle. Okay, and now I want you to, because we went across this way, I want to go the opposite direction. So I want to come on over here. So just come on a diagonal. Make sure it's actually catching into some real project, and then come straight across in this direction. So you're creating a cross shape. And pull. Now you're going to take your needle and you're going to pop it down through the center. Just watch your hand on the interior, and you're just going to guide it carefully down the center of the hat. So now you're back on the interior. Make sure that when you did that, you're just doing the final pull. There's no yarn left on the other side, and you're just going to create a knot on this side. Okay, make sure you go into something real. Don't go too deep so you're going right through the project. You're just grabbing fibers. And finally, third time is a charm. So you can add a pom-pom to this thing if you wanted to. I am going to gift this to an organization, so I'm going to leave it off. But then, therefore, you would have a really cool striped hat, just like this, using the all-in-one granny square burlap blanket yarn. That's it for now, and we hope you enjoy.